Everybody, video here for you today. We're going to go down to Egypt, talk about one of the more mysterious places in the pyramid field. That is the very north area. This is called Abu Rawash, best known for what they call the Pyramid of Djedefre, right down here. When I was talking to Brian Forster last week, he said there are two theories with this place. Either it was an unfinished pyramid or it was destroyed in antiquity. But I think there's a third possibility. This is all these places were meant to be. This is a finished building coming from a period before the dynastic Egyptians. The reason why I say this isn't a destroyed pyramid, and this is not an unfinished pyramid, this is just the way these structures were built. This is on top of a mound. Ancient text says the earliest people that came here, the sons of Horus, built their temples on primordial mounds. But here, I'll show you why I don't think that was ever destroyed or unfinished, because we have these structures all the way up and down the pyramid field right down here at Dashur. There is one, the red and the bend pyramid are down here, but nobody knows about this structure up here. This is just like Djedefre's. It's on top of a mound, ramp going down, big open pit. Then we go a little north here to Saqqara. And in South Saqqara, this isn't a place that is visited a lot, but right down here, there is another one of these very ancient structures, tunnels and chambers below it. But right down here, you can see ramp going down the middle, open pit. Then we go up to Abu Sir, just a little north. And amongst these smaller pyramid structures, there is this right down here. There's this thing. Now, this looks exactly like Djedefre's pyramid here. I think this was the original structure at Abu Sir, ramp going down, big open pit. Then we go a little farther north and we come to Zawyet Aryan. About 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, I made a video on this place, kind of exposed this for what it was. Ancient place and a military zone, covered with trash down here. Here is a very old look at Zawyet Aryan. Seems they were just slicing into the earth, whoever did these, creating these ramps to this big open area in the middle of these structures here. Today, well, lost beneath a military zone and covered in trash. So after looking at all the places they call pyramids in Egypt, I don't think these were unfinished. I don't think they were destroyed. I think this is all that there was to these places, because there are at least a half a dozen that are exactly like this. Would they all have stopped construction at this exact same period? That is highly unlikely to me. I think these were some of the original structures built by people before the dynastic Egyptians here. This is not the only structure in Abu Rawash. There is one right down here, and this is very mysterious. This is right on the edge of where the ancient Nile would have been. There's just a mound here today. There are first dynasty tombs in this structure here. This is called Lepsius Number 1. I told Ben about this before he went to Egypt. I was hoping he could get near this. Doesn't seem like anybody visits this place or does any reports on it. But this is a mound here that has structures built into it. And they go all the way back to the first dynasty. That tells me a lot. You notice how the town here is just kind of built up around this structure. But when Lepsius was here a long time ago, this is what it looked like. There was mud bricks around this ancient mound here. But this just gets me wondering how far back in history this goes, if the first dynasty was putting tombs in here. Here is that mound on the edge of what would have been the ancient Nile. Looks like they did some construction work here at one time on this place. But this just makes me wonder, if you want some wild speculation, this mound is facing directly east. Were they going to turn this into an animal shrine at one time? Well, that is just wild speculation. But it seems the very earliest periods of dynastic Egyptians were here. In fact, they put a necropolis in right next to it. So if this goes back to the very earliest period of Egyptian history, what was the very ancient structure that they were building the necropolis by? Well, Lepsius Number 1 seems to be a pretty good clue right there. This necropolis down here is a great clue. This is a very ancient place in Egypt. Around the Sphinx in Giza, around the Great Pyramid, there is a necropolis like this. Saqqara, Down at Abydos, some of the more ancient places where the dynastic Egyptians appeared to find some more ancient ruins and then built around them. Some people say this is an unfinished pyramid, and that's why it's in this state. But you notice they have a wall around the structure here, then an outer wall. Would they have built a wall before the pyramid was done? That doesn't make much sense. And the one thing about this pyramid here, it has a massive causeway, and it's over 1.25 miles down to the ancient Nile down here. That's one of the more impressive feats of engineering in ancient Egypt, this causeway going for this long. That is an underrated feature in ancient Egypt. Right down here on the edge of the Nile, you have this structure right down here. Then even further down, you have this mound right here. Seems to be totally buried. But both of these seem to be in alignment with that causeway coming down here. That is just a guess, maybe. Something at the end of that causeway right down here. This is what they say is Djedefre's pyramid. Would they have built a pyramid on top of the hill here? You would have to transport the stones up the hill and then up the pyramid. Would a pyramid be built right next to the slope of the hill? Well, I think this is the original structure up here. I think this was exactly like the one down at Abu Sir. This is the Pyramid of Djedefre. It's the exact same thing as the Pyramid of Djedefre up here. This is all these structures were, in my opinion. At the beginning of the video, I didn't even mention this place. This is one of the pyramids at Mazguna, just south of Dashur. This is on the pyramid list. But this, I don't think, was ever a pyramid. It's just a ramp coming down with a big pit down here. And the one up at Zawyet Aryan, of course, had this mysterious sarcophagus and this large granite stonework down here that is totally mysterious. And the ancient Egyptian text talks about a couple different periods of early history. Could this be a structure from that time period? I think it very well could be. In the evidence here, there is a first dynasty necropolis also right up here. This is called Wadi Karum, right down here. There's an ancient necropolis right down here. Seems this place was honored by many rulers of Egypt. And just north of here, here is the first dynasty necropolis down here. But also, Matt showed this Ancient Architects, his video, maybe 3 weeks ago. But here is a shaft cut in the earth. The alignment of this tells me nothing. It seems there's an entrance right behind it right there. But that is just a mysterious shaft that there is really no good answer for. No solid answers. Here is a look at that area. Antoine Giegel did some research here some years ago. I included that in my video, and Matt talked about it. That is very mysterious. Seems people were just slicing open the bedrock in the desert here a long time ago. Here is a look at one of the first dynasty tombs at Abu Rawash. These places were investigated over 100 years ago, and the people doing the excavation work here did not do very good archaeological work as far as reporting exactly what they found and where they found it. So a lot of history was kind of lost, but there was people looking around here over 100 years ago. Just reading a little bit here, it says the mastabas of Abu Rawash, the first burials in the area, date to the first dynasty. There is a large Thinite necropolis at the site and a number of objects bearing the names of Hor Aha and Den. And Den is ruler of the very first dynasty of Egypt. So if the first dynasty was burying their dead in the sacred necropolis, what was the ancient structure at Abu Rawash? Those two pharaohs I mentioned from the first dynasty, they were both buried down at Abydos. So that shows you the wide range of these first dynasty pharaohs. Here is a seal with Den on it. He was the second ruler of the first dynasty. And here is a structure down at Abydos that Hor Aha built. I don't think this is the one he was buried in, but it was right nearby. And all this is buried by the sand down there today. Abu Rawash is a pretty mysterious place, and that shaft just leads to the mystery. But the big question for me, first dynasty, was putting people in the ground here, leaving offerings to sacred places or sacred gods. There's a big necropolis down here. If the first dynasty was doing it, how old are these structures? The Lepsius Number 1, and then the Djedefre pyramid up on top of the hill here. How old are these places if the earliest Egyptian dynasties were putting offerings to these structures here. That's the way it appears to me. This is a very unique structure. Some people say unfinished. Well, if there's 8 or so other structures like this, just like it, I don't think they were all stopped at the same time. But the earliest text says the gods, and those are just the early people that came to Egypt. Very ancient people. They built on top of primordial mounds. Is this one of them? Well, it certainly matches. Here's a look from Ben's Unchartedx website. If you like his videos, check out his website. Just tons of good pics here. I've been enjoying looking at the pics from Egypt on his tour over there this week. But this is just a very mysterious place, and there are early reports of maybe an oval sarcophagus, just like the one at Zawyet Aryan, being at this place a long time ago and then being hacked to pieces. That's a good look right there. Here is a look from the bottom of the pit at Abu Rawash, the so-called Djedefre's pyramid. Massive granite stones were taken out of here and reused. And in your mind's eye, you can kind of tell how this place and the pit at Zawyet Aryan were kind of the same here. This is at the bottom when the massive granite stones were still in place. And there are reports of an oval sarcophagus like this at the pit at Abu Rawash, but those are a little hard to verify. Archaeologists have known about the Pyramid of Djedefre for quite a while. They got this place opened back up about 20 years ago. They knew where it was based on archaeology reports from over 100 years ago. So the Egyptologists had no choice but to open this back up. It was kind of covered in trash, according to Antoine Giegel. It's in a military zone, just like Zawyet Aryan. It seems you need real special permission to get up here. I just think this is a mysterious place in Egypt. You notice right down here, I also want to mention this. This right here is a boat pit. There has been boats found. There was the first dynasty boat found at Abu Rawash. But these have special meaning. They are pointing directly north because that is the direction the sun comes out of, the underworld. And these aren't pits for boats to be put in. These are actually pits shaped like a boat, skinny here at the back and then skinny here at the front and wide in the middle. Those are actually made to represent boats, the way they look. Here is a story coming from 7 years ago, oldest Egyptian funerary boat, Abu Rawash, Egypt. Here is a look. This comes from about 5,000 years ago. A funerary boat was put in here by the first dynasty. There had to be structures very ancient to the first dynasty Egyptians at Abu Rawash. That's what makes common sense to me. So to me, Abu Rawash appears to be a very ancient, mysterious site. Archaeologists who were here over 100 years ago called it the most ancient place in all of Egypt. The Pyramid of Djedefre called that. There was a bust of Djedefre found at Abu Rawash, but it seems many kings, many rulers of Egypt were leaving their offerings here, even ones from the first dynasty. So that tells me there was a very ancient structure or structures here. The Pyramid of Djedefre probably was one of them. Also, right down here, this mysterious Lepsius pyramid, as it is called. First dynasty tombs right in that. How old is that? This is one big mystery to me. Just giving you some thoughts on Abu Rawash, one of the most ancient places in all of Egypt. Very north part of the pyramid field here. Hope you thought that was cool, and you all have a very nice day.